Good day, my name is Scott Kinney with Discovery Education, and it is my pleasure today to be joined by Cheryl Williams from the Learning First Alliance for our One Idea series. Cheryl is the Executive Director of Learning First Alliance, has a long career in and around education as an executive at Teachscape, at the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, 14 years at the National School Boards Association, and started her career nearby, where I am today, here in Montgomery County, and then also spent some time in Fairfax as a classroom teacher. So thank you for joining us today.
Well, it's a great honor to be here, Scott. It really is.
So one of the things that we were chatting a little bit about before we hit the record button was the Get It Right campaign. So I thought, let's start off. Could you share a little bit about what that's all about?
Sure. Well, the Learning First Alliance is a coalition of 14 national K-12 education associations. And we came together about 15 years ago around some common interests we had just in support of public education. And ironically, at the time, it really was in response to some public media attention on how reading instruction took place. It was called the Reading Wars. And there was one coalition that said, oh, you had to teach phonics, and another one that, no, it had to be whole language. And the fact of the matter was, reading instruction is a bit more complicated than that. And sort of they came together and said, you know, a public school system works when you have collaborative leadership at the top, and that are professional educators and who are continuous learners themselves. So they produced a bunch of several publications on what good teaching was, and that's sort of been the evolution of LFA, the Learning First Alliance, over these 15 years. Is we find issues that are key to strong public education that we agree we need to provide leadership on, because the members of these organizations represent 10 million professional educators, parents, and local stakeholders who understand that a strong public education system is the bedrock of democracy and the underpinning of our way of life. So our latest cause, for want of a better term, probably focus, has been on support of rigorous college and career-ready standards that actually have come to be known as Common Core. And they were standards that were put together in a collaborative framework with educators. Many of our members were involved in writing these standards from across the states. That was led by the governors, led by the state superintendents of instruction, and supported by many of the members of the Learning First Alliance Coalition. And one of the things we've noticed is that, of course, I think you have too, Common Core has become very politicized. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And then the whole conversation about moving towards a set of higher standards has been conflated with what is curriculum, which is totally different. Everyone in their local schools and districts can decide how you teach children to reach these standards. And then it's been conflated around the testing. And certainly many members of the Learning First Alliance believe that how regular testing to get feedback for the professional educators and the parents is really important. How you use that information is what's become really politically hot. So Get It Right is our way of saying we believe that a strong public education system works towards high standards for all our children in ways that the approach is going to be different for different children at different age groups, different learning styles, different backgrounds. Some kids are going to need more resources that look different. Some are going to be allowed to move ahead more quickly. It's a complicated business, educating all children to high standards. And what the Get It Right campaign says is, look, let's step back. Let's give our professionals the time to, this is a huge systems change, the time to learn, to develop new approaches, to meet higher standards, to collaborate more closely together, which is what LFA tries to do, model collaborative leadership, to have the resources and the support to get it right, to implement Common Core standards with fidelity in a way that makes our teachers better, that helps our administrators be more effective, and that helps our students achieve to a higher level. So that's essentially what the campaign is about. How we support that campaign is we're gathering success stories from folks out in the field who have been working on this, some as long as 4 years. I mean, we have a whole series of both podcasts and interviews from Kentucky, and that state's been working on implementing Common Core state standards for more than 4 years, and quite successfully, but they understand that it's a process and it takes time to get it right. And sort of one interesting thing I find out about the Kentucky experience is that the first thing they did was change the name. And so they're Kentucky standards. And that's really, I think people are getting very emotional now around a name, Common Core State Standards, which some people have even thought was some kind of federal initiative, which it was not. So that's what the Get It Right campaign is all about. And it fits well into the Learning First Alliance modus operandi, because what we believe is that systems are only as good as the people in them, that collaboration amongst school board members, parents and PTAs, superintendents, principals, classroom teachers, that we all have to work together. We can get a lot of things right, not just new standards, but building strong communities, which support strong schools, which help our kids to succeed in the way we want them to.
Now, how do you share those success stories, the podcast, the videos today?
It's in our online environment. We've got podcasts, a whole series of podcasts. We will probably link this to our site, learningfirst.org/Common Core. We've got interviews, we've got success stories, and we're trying to focus too, because we think this is such a systems initiative, on states. So we've zeroed in on California because they've had good collaboration at the state level, at the district level, and at the classroom level and they've actually raised their own taxes to help pay for it. We're also looking at taking a deeper dive, as we're calling it, into the state of Maryland, because they have, as a state, been very diligent about moving towards their implementation. As I said, we showcased Kentucky, and we just made a decision today to take a deeper dive into Colorado and see what they're doing, both at a state level, at a district level, at a school level, and a classroom level, how their professional educators and community members are working together. So it's located on our website. We do as much promotion through our 14 members, so they help to roll it out with their stakeholders to help us all talk about this in a way that's constructive and that in the end will be good for all of our students.
And you mentioned the broad stakeholders that you represent. Is the site for everyone? Is it for teachers and parents and administrators, or is it specifically geared towards one of those audiences?
No, it's actually for all of them, because again, one of the themes of our work is how we work together well. The board of directors of Learning First Alliance is the CEOs and senior staff of each of the 14 organizations, and they come together 6 times a year. As a matter of fact, we met at Discovery earlier this year to exchange information, to share strategies, to have a safe place to talk about pain points they may be having, and to sort of make sure that we're coordinating our communication strategies about the work that we're doing individually and collectively. So really the site has something for everyone. And the main theme or objective of our whole conversation is that not any one stakeholder can do this alone. And we find in places, districts, that they're having more trouble. It's where the teachers are left out of the loop and they feel as if this is being done to them. And what we know is that teacher leadership is key in this. Everyone needs to be a partner in both the planning and implementation strategies. So we're hopeful that maybe folks who are having a little bit of a tougher time with either their communities or their classroom teachers or their teachers unions will take a look at some of these stories and see if they can learn from their colleagues across the country.
Well, very good. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today.
Sure.
This is the One Idea Series. Again, Executive Director Cheryl Williams of the Learning First Alliance. Cheryl, what's the URL for folks who want to learn more?
Right. It's www.learningfirst.org/Common Core, all one word.
Very good. Thank you again for your time today.
Thank you.
Take care.